Yeah, so maybe we can cover some AL questions that I have today first. And then if you have to leave, I guess that's okay, because there are some NAV questions also.
Okay.
So let's give a minute to everybody. It's already 9:58 here in India. So you're working on all SaaS projects, or you're also using on-prem?
Me?
Yeah,
Yes, I'm all SaaS. I'm just going to focus 100% on the latest BC SaaS in the cloud.
great. Yeah, because I'm part of the upgrade team, so I always have a foot in the past and a foot in the future.
Yes, and I suspect that's not uncommon among people who've been working with NAV for many years, right? You have
Yeah,
customers with the older versions, just like I'm still supporting GP. So the actual work that I'm doing to make money is 100% GP, and
right.
all the BC stuff is just pure learning. So
Yeah. And I recorded the job queue after watching your video. Did that help?
yes, it answered several of my questions, and I need to rewatch it again and go through the steps to see the different scenarios. But very helpful. No, I have watched episode 2, and that was
Right.
very helpful.
Okay.
Based on your intro to episode 1, it sounded like I didn't really need that episode
Yeah.
for the SaaS
Right.
only. So, yep, I just jumped to episode 2, and it was great.
Oh,
Thank you.
good. Good. Okay, so I guess it's the time. Let me share my screen. And let me know when you can see it, everybody.
Yep, I see the slides.
Okay, so yeah, welcome. And thank you for all the questions that everybody have sent me. There are so many this week. I guess 7 of them, and some are multi-question questions, like 7 questions in one email. But that makes sense. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is, I know we are doing it right now weekly, and it's hard to kind of fill that form every time. So will it make sense that if I make some of you who want to kind of default uh, attendees going forward? Then you don't have to worry and go register every time, you know.
That would be great for me. And I know you looked into apps like Meetup. Those
Yes.
make it super easy to just register and sign up, but even those you do have to do every week. So default attendee would be fine. I may not be able to attend every one, but that'd be great if I just get the invite so it gets on my calendar.
Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, anybody else who is interested, you can put it on chat, and then I'll take it as an input for the next meeting. Okay. So here is what we have from last. Let me see why. Yeah, from last 3 or 4 times that we have done, I see a trend of people attending more and more. The registration count is fluctuating, and not everybody joins it, but that's okay. The idea is not to have more people. The idea is to have great questions and great discussions as we go forward. So first I'll do this, that I'll jump in questions related to BC, which applies to BC, and then we'll come back to questions in NAV. And if you haven't submitted a question and you have one that you want us to discuss here, just again put that into chat and we'll talk about it. So let's see what are the questions. I'll come to this later because this was repeated. Yes, so this is one of the question that I was saying that it's a multi-part question. Starting from if as in can we add an option value to a standard Microsoft table field for which enum is not available, and then how could we do that? And this is from Jignesh, and I guess Jignesh you are here. Let me see attendees.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, Saurabh, I'm here.
good man. So I don't know that you know about this idea website from Microsoft. So the first thing that I'll do is I'll go to idea.microsoft. Let me find that site and I'll send it to you. And register the request that I need. And then the way it works over there is they you kind of submit your idea and then there is a voting on it, and if it's get voted more, then it'll get added into the next version of the product.
Okay.
Um the other thing is that at the same time while this is happening, Microsoft is also working behind the scene to convert all options, if I'm not wrong, to enums. So eventually, with more releases coming up, these options will get converted to enum, and they cannot do it in bulk because there is behind the scene code that also need to be rewritten by Microsoft to make it or change it to enum. So it'll take time, but it's happening so fast. As in the last release, I don't remember, but there was huge numbers of options which converted to enum. So I'll do both the things, as in I'll go into idea website and submit my request, and also check on every release that did my field got converted.
Okay.
Then your next question was about around customization function, that is there is no subscriber event available, and how could we do it in a customized code. I'll repeat my statement again. Submit your idea on that idea website and request
Okay.
that event. You'll have to present your scenario, that what you're trying to do and why, where you need it.
Mm-hmm.
But the other advice that I'll give you as being a nav developer also, that rethink about your customization. Don't think it
Okay.
from the nav perspective. When you work on AL, it looks similar, but the way that you code in AL is completely different. You need to think it from a business central perspective, and I have seen myself getting stuck on those situation, and then took a step back, thought about it, and there were other possibility that I didn't think about it. So
Mm-hmm.
use both, and somebody will reply you over there also.
Mm-hmm.
Next is, where should we look up trigger for table fields for standard table? So now that is not an option from the beginning in AL. You cannot write custom code on a lookup trigger because there is no database event available for it. Like it's only available for on validate.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to rethink that. That's not possible. Then your
Mm-hmm.
another question is around some index field for standard key available in tables. As far as I know, you cannot change any standard key or any property of the standard key in nav, or sorry, in business central. Then is can we change the field group for standard table? And if I'm not wrong, field group is you want to change the lookup field options in that, right? Or add new fields into your lookup thing.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so yeah, that's possible. And let me quickly pop up my VS Code and let's try to do it. So before we go there, there are other people who might not know what we are talking about. So let me log into my Docker and we'll see that. Okay, here we are. And guys, the question is that when you go, let's say, to customers, not actually customers, but when you go to sales order and create a new one or edit any one, so when you reach here, not this one, maybe item is the best example. So like this, so he want to add one more field in this list, is that correct? Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so let's try to do it on item table. So this is in the item table, this property. So the way you do it, and let me change these numbers so that I don't overlap something that I'm doing. Okay, let me delete this hello world demo1.al, and I'll create a table extension id this item extension customize item. Okay, and then I'm going to add a new field into the table just to set that so that we can see how that's possible. So let's add a field, let's say field, and let's do 50,000 and do demo field, and let's say of type text. So once you have added the field, this is in the field area. You can also use another area outside field called field group, and this is what the property was in CAL world, right? The only option that you have is to add the your field as the last field in the field group. Okay, and then you want to choose which one, which is drop down, that comes as a drop down, and then the field name that you want. So you can also use the base field if you want. So let's say I'll put blocked, and I'm not adding this field. Let's comment this out. Okay, so my table extension only adds the block field into my item drop down. So let's pub. Okay, there's an error. What is that error? Okay, maybe I'll have to comment these also. Comment and then comment. Okay, I need to add a field, I guess. Okay, so let's do this, and I'll add it, and let's. What is the problem at this point? Oh, sorry, I forgot to add the curly braces here. That's my bad. Okay, let's publish this and let's see what happens on the item page once we publish this. So where is my client? Here it is. Okay, let me refresh this. It's go to sales orders, pick one, and let's do a drop down on item. And it should have been here. That's odd. Okay, so let me add a field. Fields. Key field 3000 demo, and let's say size 20. And that should be added here as demo. Okay, let's republish this. Okay, let's go back. Okay, okay, so here it was. I guess I didn't do this. So does that make sense, Vignesh?
Yes.
Okay, so moving forward here, let me go back to my slide deck. The next question was, what are the properties that we could not extend for Business Central online version? So the properties are more or less same, and you are talking about table properties or field properties?
I think sometimes what happened, like due to the customization in Nav, that is some properties, like as we mentioned in 1 2 3 4 points as my 1 to 5 points, some of the property and some of the code we could not extend. So at that time we stuck into the situation. So what are the things that property that is not possible right now? Or
So it's, it's, I prefer to do it that when I'm working on an app or building an extension, I make sure that this setting is not changed, which is or you should not use the feature property. Oh, sorry, not the feature. What was that? Target property. You should not change the target property, and by default it will point to the cloud version. So while you are building it, if there is an error, that's the easy way to understand that it doesn't work. As in, the 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 thing is that it's changing every day. There is not a consolidated set of information which will be true today or after 6 months also. It will change every day as the product is changing. So I prefer to learn it while doing it, and then tweak the way the Business Central support it.
okay.
Okay. I don't know. Steve, do you have a list somewhere which talks about it is possible on SaaS or not?
No.
Okay. And I didn't get the last question. What is the upgrade process Microsoft plan to release in Business Central?
As Microsoft mentioned in the plan, that is Business Central 14 on-premise to Business Central 16
Right.
upgrade process. That is a data upgrade. I'm mainly focused. That is a data upgrade. How we could do that is any like uh, some plan or something that they release to MVP or something.
So there's nothing. This is out in public, right? As in, you can upgrade from Business Central 14 to Business Central 16 and online. So there's nothing hidden info. Everything is public on Microsoft website. That this is the route that you take when you go from 14 to higher versions. Okay, so it's available on MSDN. If you can't find it, let me know. I'll send you the links. But it's publicly available. It was released with Business Central 16, and now you can go from 14 to SaaS directly. So that's also an option if your customer want to.
Okay.
So yeah, there's nothing hidden, as in there's nothing that only MVPs know. It's
No,
open
no,
in
no.
public. Yeah.
Yeah, just one query. Like, as we upgrade from 2009, 2013 to like higher version, like in the Navision, there is an upgrade toolkit or something. That
Right.
is there anything like related to data upgrade? Like I'm moving my data. I know like it is a like from configuration package or like in intelligent insight that we have the option to move our data, but what is the plan for like 14 to 16, that is online version?
So 14 to any higher version, you'll not get upgrade toolkit object that you used to get in past. It's part of the base Microsoft app now. So when you open your
Oh,
product DVD on prem and you go to
okay,
apps folder or application folder, there is a folder called, or there's an app called base app, right?
okay,
Inside the base app, if you go, there is a folder called upgrade. And so it's part of base app. You don't have to import anything. So you should
okay,
actually first read that MSDN page. You don't have to use configuration worksheet or anything. It's already
okay,
part. There is a process that you can take data from 14 to SaaS or 14 to 16 on prem. It's up to you where you want to go.
o- okay, got it.
So I'll maybe send you the links after the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. So moving into next question, and this was from Snehal, and I guess he's not here, but this is related to Business Central, and let's try to understand what she's trying to say. So what she's saying is that I somebody posted a question in I guess Nabug. I don't know when, and this was my old reply in NavWord that y- what they want, what the user wanted, and let me open my Business Central so that we understand it. Is where is that? Okay, here it is. So the question is around that when you post your sales order or your purchase order, you get a option to choose, like, do you want to ship it, invoice it, and ship an invoice, right? So this is a question that when you are on this screen, the default option which is selected by the base Microsoft code is ship an invoice. And the person who was asking it, I guess, wanted it to change to ship or invoice. I'm not sure. And now Snehal is asking that how we can do it in Business Central without, because we cannot modify base code. So let's quickly do that because it will not take much time. Okay, where is my, yeah, and I'll add that here. New file, let's say demo2.al. So Snehal, when she will watch the recording, you'll create a code unit. As you can subscribe to base event, let's say I'm saying is custom purchase or sales. We are there, right? Sales option, posting option. I'm pretty sure it'll go big, so let's keep it this. Then when you are doing it, you will do it, if you remember in past the nav developers, you will do it on, where is my mail? Yeah, you will do it in your sales post yes and no code unit, right? So in the same way, you will write a t event subscriber, event subscriber for your code unit sales post yes no, and then there will be list of event. We'll see that in a while. Element name is blank because it's a code unit. I want to skip in case of license and in case of permissions. Okay. Now I need to select the event, which I don't know, but let's read through them, which is on after confirm post, no. On before confirm sales post. So this is before the sales post happen. So let's try to use it and say change default option. Okay. Now let's see what parameters are available. One is default option. That's good. Hide dialog is handled, post and send and sales header. And let's suppose I only want to do it for sales orders. So then I'll choose sales header, and the other one that I need is default option. And this is something specific to nav developer that I do, and I prefer that, because it may degrade your performance, is identify the situation where your code should not be running and write those cases so that if you don't have to do anything, that subscriber gets out. So what I mean that, as I said, that I only want to do it on sales headers. So I'll do my sales header dot document type, if not equal to sales header dot document type order, then please exit. Don't spend time in this code. So first identify situation where your code should not actually execute, because there can be 10 subscriber to this particular event. So to make your system faster, you should make sure that you don't write 50 lines of code and then in the 25th line you say that, oh, I don't need to do anything because this is not matching what I wanted to do. So choose your options wisely in the beginning so that it doesn't spend more time while subscriber is being called. And then what I wanted to do is I wanted to change the default option to 2. So let's do that assignment. So let's publish this and see what happens to our sales order after this. Okay. So that got published. Let's come back here and let's try to post this now. So if you see now, my second option is set as default rather than the third one. So yeah, Snail is not here, but hope this subscriber helps her, solve her problem. And I guess that's the only question she had. Okay, Keshav, I know you are here. We'll kind of take a pause on yours and we'll come back to this. And okay, so let's go back. Is Shahid here today? I don't see him. And I, just by this text, I don't know what question he have. So this is a request from Nitin about recording a video of how to use record ref and what situations are better to use. So Nitin, I'm sure you are not here, but I'll need a scenario how you want to handle it, because there are different ways that you can do record ref use, and it's pretty powerful if you are doing something, want to do something generic. So yeah, if you have a suggestion that what type of example you want, just send me an email and I'll surely record it. Otherwise, I'll think of a scenario and try to put it into my queue per se. Okay, so Keshav, Shift Technologies in Dynamics Nav 2016, as in that also applies to more or less Business Central also. But the way I would describe Shift is, as in, let's put it maybe in a simple word, it's the full form of it is, if I'm not wrong, is Some Index Field Technologies. It was there in Dynamics Nav, and it's available in Business Central also. So the way Shift technologies help you is it let you quickly calculate the sum of numeric data types like decimals, integer, big integers, and duration, I guess. Yeah, durations, which are available in the table. And it's even if there are thousands of record in table, the sum index field helps you to calculate it easily. It is used to optimize the performance of flow fields and query that are result of your Dynamics Nav application. And let me open my Dynamics Nav, and I'm pretty sure you'll be able to relate it to Business Central also. So a sum index field is always associated with a key. So when you go to your table keys, you'll see that there is a sum index field which is available there. So that's where you can apply any numeric field which will get auto calculated for the calculation that you're doing. But too many shift indexes or this field values into it will also impact the performance in other ways, as I was discussing earlier. So
Yes.
so the way it works is whenever you add a key in the table, a associated index is created in SQL Server database. And then when you add a field in the sum index field, there is a statistics get created for calculation of that. And the way it impacts otherwise is, so whenever you do a insert or a modify or delete from a table record, the SQL have to maintain the index based on the data change, and every time the data changes, the statistics need to be recalculated. Okay. And the way I'll explain you is like if you go to table 18 and then look for, let's say there should be some numeric field. Let's see a flow field somewhere. Yeah. So this is a flow field balance in your table 18. And if you go to the properties of it, it is coming from detailed customer ledger entry with certain fields. And let me copy all this so that you will be able to relate to it. And let's go to detailed customer ledger entry. So whatever we have copied, I'll paste it here. So what it does, it says sum of amount in this table where your customer number, your initial entry global dim 1, global dim 2, and currency code. So if I'm not wrong, there will be a key with these field in this table, which is making this happen. Okay. So let's go and check. If you see, here is the amount, but this key does not have the fields that we need. But if you see this key have all the fields which that flow field needs for its calculation. And based on this, there is an index in SQL which is maintaining these statistics. So with all this combination, that flow field gets kind of calculated faster.
Saurabh, sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
We could not see the question 5 screen is available right now. There is no any other screen.
Oh, so you're not seeing any, as in you didn't see the AL code also?
Yes, it is a SIV technology right now only.
So
Question 5, SIV technology, not any other screen right now. I can see.
I'm seeing
anybody?
demo 04 nav development
Right.
environment.
Okay.
Table
Yeah.
designer. Yeah. There might be a lag.
Yeah, there might be a lag. Yeah, so I guess Jignesh, you'll have to wait. I guess the internet speed is a little bit slow, I guess, at your end. So the other way that you see can use it is in code, and you'll find so many references of it in all base Microsoft objects in CAL, where you can find something called calc sums, and then before the calc sum you'll see the set range of those fields based on which this particular field sum index field would have been defined. So that's kind of how it works in NAV, and more or less same in Business Central. But as I said earlier, it's, you need to use it wisely. Don't just start adding some index field in your table keys, because it can have down it can downgrade your performance also if not used wisely.
Okay, so yes,
Okay, so hope that helps.
yes.
Okay, and then the last question that I have is from Shahid, and it's around best practices for report customization if need to do change in data set. So, now every time I read a question, I think from the Business Central perspective. So the first thing that I would say is you should not have a situation where you are modifying the base report, in Business Central, because that's not possible to change data set of a report. I prefer to build a report from the beginning, starting from scratch based on what customer needs. And the only best practice I can suggest is, like, keep your data set as small as you can, because the size of your database defines how quickly or how slowly your report will run. Most of the time gets into executing the data set calculations and then how big it is. So rendering part doesn't take much time until unless it's a super complex layout. Um, One thing that I have noticed in past is it helps if you keep your images, like company info image or any other image in the system, either at the first level on the top of the node or at the end of the node in a separate data item for integer. And the reason is that if you keep it in the middle of somewhere, like Microsoft does in standard nav reports, let's see, sales invoice. So when this picture is here, and when you see your data set, when you run this report and you go to help about this page, you'll see that this image is repeating in every row of this report. And reports are huge in size, images are huge in size, so they can downgrade the performance of your report. So what I prefer to do is I'll either create at the top a data item of integer table and run it only once, and then I'll move these images if I need all three inside this. So what happens with that is it is at indentation 0, so it only runs once and it doesn't run multiple times. So you will find your images only on your first data item, first result of your data set, and you'll not see in all. So that's what I prefer, and I guess that's what it is, until unless there is a specific question about the report thing. So those were the questions that were pre-submitted. Let me look in the chat if there is anything else. Okay, I see a question from Jignesh, but I can't read it completely. Jignesh, do you want to speak up?
Hello.
No, there was a question that you posted, right? But I can't
Yeah.
read it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have seen your video related to Docker configuration for Business Central VS Code. There is a one question I have tried to download the Business Central image, Docker image, but in between it is giving like error, or so it takes a long time to download the image. Is there any like what should we do for that?
So the first thing that I'll say is check your internet. How, is there a breakage in the middle? Because it
Yes,
takes time for the first
yes.
time. Okay, it will take time for the first time for sure. And I haven't recorded the new way of building Docker images, as has been changes, and it's still in my pipeline. But Steve here have recorded some, and he can surely share the links of his video on YouTube, which you can follow, and then try using the new way. There has been some changes in how you create your Docker images as containers now.
Okay.
So Steve, will it be able to share your video link about the
Yep, I'm sharing it now. And so two things. Years ago, when I first tried to use Docker and Nav Container Helper, I did it on I was at the Nav Directions conference. I tried to do it on the hotel Wi-Fi. Not a good idea. I had lots
Never
of
happens.
errors, interruptions. It was a nightmare. So now I only do it from a hardwired fast connection, and I know people who have slower internet connections, and it takes hours to download that, like 10 gig or 6 gig, whatever size it is, that initial image. Definitely check out Freddie's new method with the new Nav Container Helper that uses BC Docker artifacts. And so I pasted my video on that. That is, you still need to download an initial large image, but once you have the base image for that version, for your version of Windows and your locality, then the artifacts are much smaller, and you don't have to re-download the massive Windows image. So it's still really painful. You will need a reasonably fast internet connection that is reliable. You can keep trying, but if it's not reliable, it's going to get interruptions and timeouts, and it will literally take, 8 to 12 hours if you have a slow connection.
So, Steve, I haven't actually. I wanted to use it, but actually recorded while I'm doing it, and it's still in my plans.
Yep.
But I'm still not sure that is it possible that once I create a named image, can I move it from one machine to other machine? Is it possible or not?
I haven't tried that. That's a good question. The way that Docker stores images and containers is still kind of mysterious to me. I know how to move Docker from one drive to another, but I do not know if it is possible to grab an image file and transfer it to another Docker instance. I mean, I would think it makes sense that it would be possible. I just haven't tried it. That's a really good question. Yep, if you want to save the download, yeah.
Right, because with the named image, the first thing that came to my mind that if I have the named image, then I should be able to share or save it somewhere, maybe in my repo, that I might need it in my 10th project, not now.
Yeah, I see a Stack Overflow question about this, and this is, well, it's from 6 years ago, so I don't know if things have changed, but this is saying that you can save the Docker image as a tar file, and then you copy that to another system. This is all Unix based. And yeah, so this particular article is very Unix based. Let me find a newer one. So it looks like it is possible. So that's a great idea, because that first download is brutally painful. And then once you have that base image now, the generic image that Freddie has set up, you should be able to spread that. However, just be aware that every generic image now is very, very specific to your Windows build. So if you have two servers and they're in slightly different service packs or Windows updates, they will not use the same generic image. So that's a catch.
Yeah, right. That's true.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, and then I guess as we are talking about Dockers, we should ask Tanya. Tanya, your Docker issues are fixed?
Hi, sir. Hello. So actually, I figured out that where was I lacking, but yeah, that error was definitely saying that I was not connected to the network. So I'm working on it. So there are multiple network drivers where where the container is connected to. So and then when I did an inspect on my container, so it was clearly telling me that you are not connected to the network driver. And my system, and so well, I'm using Windows Server 2016. So yeah, it has the available drivers. I could see there was one was NAT, and the other one said none. So I'm just reading and I'm studying on that network drivers as well. And basically I need to connect it, and I don't know yet, but yeah, I'm studying it. So I'll just do some research on this, and surely I can get through somewhere.
Steve, any thoughts on that? You are also working on the servers.
Yeah,
I never.
I am working on Windows Server, but I decided to go with Windows Server 2019 to just rule out any possible challenges with older versions of Windows. So if you're not on version 1809 or higher of Windows 10, Windows Server, whatever, then you may run into random issues. I don't know. And unfortunately, I haven't yet dug into Docker networking. I'm going to start working with Jeremy Visca on trying to figure out Docker networking and create a beginner's guide to Docker networking that covers the basics and understanding it, but I'm not there yet. So
I would
I
like to
guess,
ask one question. Can I?
yeah.
Yeah, actually, so it's like that. I don't know much of Docker yet. I'm just studying as well. But I need to know that if you are installing the image and you are making the containers, so is it by default that network is generated, or you have to do any sort of settings? Because in my container, when I created it, so the error was totally when I went to the event log, it was just clearly saying me about that there is no network connected to it. So I don't know because I have not. This is my first trial to
Yep.
put my hands on the Docker. So I would just like to know from you, Saurav or Steve, sir, anything. If you felt for the first time downloading the container, sorry, working on the container, that this network issue, you created the network or it was by default?
Every single time I've done it, it's working fine.
Okay.
I don't have to do anything. Now, that means that when I create the image, create the container, I can open up that container and it works. I haven't done anything fancy like have that container reach out to the internet, and I have not tried to connect to that container from another machine. So, but running on my VM, that container works fine without touching any network configuration other than the one setting that's included in Nav Container Helper to set the DNS and the command called update host, that parameter. Other than that,
Yeah.
I've never created a network, never touched the network at all. I know nothing about Docker networking. Now, are you able to, once the container gets created, are you even able to open the web page to
I
log
did,
in?
yeah, I did actually. I did that, but it was not just displaying anything. It was just
Okay.
loading and loading, and it ended up with some sort of weird error, bizarre error. I could read it. Even I couldn't understand why that the server could not connect or something like that. But yeah, when I went to the log, that was just clearly saying me that it is not connected to a multi-host network. And I wanted to know about more about DNS host settings. I don't know much. I'm just reading all of this.
Yeah. If it's not running on your host that is running Docker and you're unable to open that web page, that sounds like an issue. I would definitely check your Windows version, see what build it is, and if you can, try a latest Windows 10 build. I think it's like build 1900 something, or try a Server 2019 install and make sure to install the latest Windows updates. I've never had an issue since I've used latest versions of Windows on newer hardware.
Right, and I have never seen a networking issues, but yeah, I'm using Windows 10, so I'm not.
Yeah.
That is
Maybe
the most
that's different.
latest, right? This is the
Yeah,
most latest one. So and one thing, I can just also post on the GitHub
yeah,
right? I
Yep.
can
yeah.
post this error on the GitHub and I can get some of the replies or something.
Yep. And in my video that I linked to, I described the process that I did to submit an issue for Nav Container Helper because I was running into a problem and it turned out to be something that I was doing wrong. It was my old Windows version. So just look at a few of the submissions for the issues to see the format and how you paste in your logs and everything to give Freddie as much information as possible so he can help diagnose it. And
Yeah.
he's really good about monitoring those.
Yeah, I read
Yeah,
much of his blogs. He is a lot of more he's just a pro in Docker, I think.
Yeah, he's the ultimate pro for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And here is the link if you don't have for the GitHub for Docker containers. Uh,
Yeah.
uh,
Thank you so much.
okay, sounds good. Okay, so anybody else have any questions? Maybe Amandeep, you didn't had a question submitted. So do you have anything that you want
No,
to talk
I'm
about?
good. Thanks for.
Jignesh, anything else other than the question that we talked about?
Uh, I have one from Steve that could you please suggest like what are the uh, like we are currently working on the AL extension and AL app development, but what are the things you could post or you can make a video like Steve or Saurabh, you can make a video and that would be helpful to all of us.
What are you looking for?
AL
Like
development, I guess.
How to get
AL
started with
development
AL
and
development?
AL. We are currently working, but what are the advanced AL technique or something that you could make a like blog or video that would be helpful for any specific topic that would be helpful to all of us.
I'm the beginner in the room, so my focus is like AL for dummies. That's what I do, and so I'm getting ready this morning to record programming in AL for beginners. So if you need advanced, I'd look to Sarov and Eric Hugard and Waldo and those guys. Those guys are the experts.
Yeah, and the problem, Jignesh, is that whenever we talk about anything advanced, we need to define the scope as in how much you can write or let's say make a video about, and will you cover all the situations? It's impossible. As in, I thought about it. Maybe I had a very basic one that I article series that I posted, I guess 2 years ago now, about AL development. But that's what you can think of and plan of. Like, I don't think anybody will be able to cover all the scenarios. There is so much to cover. And like in the nav world also, or I'm pretty sure GP world also, you can't cover the whole custom that, let's say, you will do. I'll not be able, or nobody will be able to cover it. And
Yeah, yeah.
I just posted Eric Hugard's YouTube channel, and
yeah,
as Sarah was saying, he just does specific topics because he doesn't want to do an 8-hour video. So he'll do,
right.
okay, how to call web services, how to do this report layout, how to do this. And so I would just subscribe to his channel to get started.
Yeah, as in specific questions are handled like they were in nav world. So like very common in nav world was how do you do export to Excel. So that's a common question and anybody can write about it. But then how do you export to Excel with this and this and this? That's actually a customer requirement. And nobody can think of every customer requirement in the world. It's impossible. So yeah, as an I feel like that if you know how to build new objects, and so there are two things I think that we do in Business Central or NAV. Either we create new objects or either we modify base object, right? That's the only two things that we do, either in NAV Word or GP Word or Business Central Word. So do you know how to create new objects? You know it. Do you know how you can subscribe to base objects and customize them to whatever the limit Microsoft have given us? Then you know everything. Now, there is a case where you have to go deep because there are multiple loops of subscriber that will be called. That's a specific case, you know. So it's hard as Steve will be posting some videos for, as he said, about the dummies. That makes sense, as in that's what any developer needs. And then after that, it's all about how much you can think of. It's like, it's like, do you know how to ride a bicycle or a motorbike? Yes, you know the semantics. Now, does that make you accident free all your life? No. You might bump something someday. You might, get hit somewhere or, stuck somewhere. So it's just the basics that you need to know, and then scenarios are different in every case.
Yeah.
So, okay, Keshav, you have anything else that you can talk about today?
No, sir.
Okay. Nishant, anything?
No, I just want to know about the artifacts, so I will go with the video first, which Steve has shared.
Right, because if I'm not wrong, Steve, this is the last month when the old way will work, right? Starting
I'm sorry,
next
what was
month,
that?
this is the last month where the images will be available
Yep.
in the old way.
Yes, and the change as an end user is pretty transparent. It's a very minimal change in terms of what you need to do, but I recommend understanding the architecture of the generic image and the artifacts, just so you know what's going on. Otherwise, it could get kind of confusing. But Nav Container Helper handles everything for you.
Yeah. Okay, and then Tanya, anything else other than Dockers?
Not yet, sir. I'm just working on Docker these days.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
So yeah, so all good. And what I'll do is we did some kind of labs today. So I'll put it somewhere and I'll put the link in the description. If anybody has to download those source codes, they'll be available. And yes, if there is nothing else, I guess we are good there. And those people who joined late, um, I was suggesting that anybody who want to be attending always, I can make you guys default attendees in every meeting. So just put your name in the chat and I'll make sure that next time you don't have to go through the cycle of registering every time. So Amandeep, I guess, and Nishant already, and Jignesh and Steve have said yes. So yeah, then you don't need to worry about that. I'll have to check the link is available or not, and I'll make sure that you are you're getting invitation every time. What else? What else? Yeah, Tanya, you didn't receive the email. Did you check your junk email? Because I see that it was sent to you from my ID. Sometime I have seen it's going to junk emails to some people.
Okay, so I didn't check there, but I did not receive in my straight inbox, but I didn't check the junk email.
Yeah, maybe it's there.
Yeah, okay. Because I didn't get, so I thought this session is not going to happen today. So then I just DM'd you to make sure is it really happening or I don't know.
Yeah, that's good, I guess. Thanks for today,
Thank you.
and then we'll.
Thanks for hosting.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you, Steve. Thank you all.